This clown crew offers the MC a deal: hand over the elf to them and walk away peacefully, or join in and gang up to bang the cheesy elf. She is practically freaking out because the MC goes silent after hearing the deal. But inside his head, he's fuming. How dare these bastards make such a messed up offer? He raises both his wand. Time freezes, and before I tell you what happens next, let's rewind a bit. How did he even bump into these creeps? Why are there iron collars around everyone's neck? And what are they doing in this dark dungeon in the first place? The story kicks off with a maze master throwing down against 4 challengers. Our main dude steps up with a magic wand and basically tells the enemy it's over. Next thing you know, the wand blasts out a massive wave of fire that roars straight at the target. But the maze master slaps down 3 magical barrier circles. The blast hits the barriers, and they fold faster than me seeing a math test. The flames keep going and vaporize the maze master on the spot. Following the massive explosion, a message pops up thanking the player for completing Abyss of the Labyrinth, even on insane difficulty. The guy playing smirks and thinks, maybe I should post this gameplay on YouTube. Right after that, the game hits him with an offer to try developer mode. His mage already packs some serious power, but now it's throwing in extra abilities, which only means one thing: this mode's about to be pure chaos. He opens his character's stat window, and there's nothing. Like, literally nothing. So he dumps all 10 stat points into wisdom. Yeah, bro's not beating the dungeon, he's just gonna overthink every trap in 4K resolution. But wait, when the game loads, his monitor goes nuclear. The flash lights up the whole apartment. Bro wakes up to some angry dude screaming that he's a criminal and needs to walk straight. He just smirks, thinking this dream's gone way off the rails since he was gaming a few minutes ago. The guy sees him smiling and shoves him down. Our hero starts feeling pain and notices a strange blue circle in front of a group of people. A bald old man tells them they're criminals who have become slaves. He hands them a magic wand and sends them into a deadly labyrinth. If they survive and earn money, they can buy their freedom or even get into the magic academy. Our hero remembers the same stuff happening in the game. Reality hits, and he goes pale as he realizes he's basically inside his favorite game. But quitting isn't an option now they've been thrown into a dark, twisted labyrinth. He soon realizes his character's name is Caleb, and the place is crawling with monsters straight out of DC Comics. He needs to prepare himself and check the stats of the others. One of them is already terrifying Yahello with his lustful intentions. Another, the second slave, receives a divine oracle foretelling their deaths. He loses his mind, and everyone looks scared as hell. He tells them to man up before his motivational speech even finishes. One fat guy completely loses it and runs in a panic, but a sharp blade cuts him down instantly. They watch in horror as blood spills cold on the ground. Then, a truly terrifying goblin appears, and one slave actually laughs, thrilled that his prediction came true so soon. But an arrow silences him, striking clean and square in the face. The goblins grin like they just walked out of a toothpaste ad. The elf girl and our hero are terrified, knowing they could be next. The goblins charge, one swings its weapon with brutal speed, and just before it can slice our hero's neck, his system triggers an emergency hourglass that freezes time for 60 seconds. As the countdown begins, our guy is blown away because the goblin is literally frozen midair. That's when he realizes this must be the new ability the game mentioned earlier. But there's no time to think about that. He plans to use his wand to block the sword. But as he moves slightly, one action point drops, pissing him off. That's when he notices the system prompting his goofy wisdom to cast Fireball. He realizes the system has live command input, which is honestly pretty dope. Anyway, he moves his wand, losing 1 level point. He aims at the goblin, there goes another. Then he thinks maybe he should target the center, dropping yet another point. When the system warns that he's out of points, he couldn't care less, and fires anyway, knowing the time freeze is about to end. As the countdown finishes, the skill enters a 60-second cooldown. Flames condense at the tip of his wand, just as the goblins begin to move again, and then the fire bursts out, nearly annihilating them on the spot. The elf girl stands in shock, and as our hero realizes the goblins are truly dead, he exhales sharply, knowing he was just inches away from losing his head. He musters up some strength, reminding himself that he knows the mages in this game better than anyone. He needs to find the exit gate and trustworthy allies to fight through the monsters. He asks Yahello what kind of magic her wand uses. She's scared and barely manages to reply. It's a lightning wand. He tells her to use it on the enemies since they have no other choice but to fight. Our hero still doesn't know who or what threw him into this game, but one thing's for sure, whoever did it is going to regret it. A few years back, a huge labyrinth appeared, spilling monsters all over the world. The chaos wiped out countless adventurers and mages. To train new labyrinth explorers, they started throwing slaves inside, keeping only those tough enough to survive. That's basically what the game is about, though our boy isn't sure how much of it is true, so he's careful not to take anything for granted. The blonde elf with our boy hesitantly introduces himself as Yahello, and our introduces back, and they walk with an awkward silence. She finally speaks, saying Caleb talked quite a bit on the ship, but now he feels really quiet. Our hero gets the hint from people that there must be more people familiar to him, which means he needs to be careful. When our boy doesn't answer, she tells how she gets slaved by unjust drugs accusations. Realizing the girl is scared, our hero tells her to quiet down. Out of nowhere, the system shows an hourglass with a countdown. Our hero can't understand why it starts, if he has stepped on a trap. It tries to calm down, thinking most traps on the first floor are usually something that pops out of the wall. There aren't any holes on the urinal side of the wall. He scans on his side and ceiling too, and it's all clear from any holes. Now the trap must be from the floor, which is further like a spike trap, an explosive nail trap, a poisonous gas trap, or a falling trap when the floor collapses. Now the hourglass activation gives him enough time to figure out the possible trap, but leaves him no time to prepare. He steps ahead out of all options, along with urinal. But this goofy girl accidentally hits our guy's foot and loses balance and steps on the deadly trap. Our hero warns that it will activate once she lifts the foot. She asks what she should do. Our hero asked her to grab heavy barrels while he pressed the same block in place of her. But trusting urinal is his biggest mistake, as 30 minutes passed, and she hasn't returned. She doesn't know if she got stuck in the new trap or faced a monster. While he thinks of being more selfish, a voice calls him. It's our goofy girl, who somehow rolled a heavy barrel to him. After they put it on the trap, Caleb uses his telekinesis magic wand. He says move, and the barrel moves aside, and the surface explodes. Our hero knows that this place is filled with traps like this, and monsters too. A glowing screen pops up, asking for stat points. Our guy dumps it all into wisdom and keeps going. It's only the first floor, so he's chill about it. He wants to test the hourglass and spell casting to see if it eats his action points. Just then, a goblin steps in, and our hero is not afraid, but the goblin's grins wider as they are armed with bows. But who cares? Caleb activates the hourglass, uses the fireball magic. Time freezes and the fireball cooldown countdown begins. As he uses the fireball magic, his one action point reduces. The fire blows out of the wand and thrusts towards the goblins. It hits the goblins, cooking them right on the spot. Caleb realizes he can fire off 4 fireballs in one turn. He's basically a walking flamethrower now. Urinal is shocked, saying he has both rapid cast and chantless cast, which is crazy rare. But then she gets sad, thinking she's bad at magic. Caleb looks at her and knows she's still an elf, so there's definitely some hidden potential waiting to come out. He asks how far she can jump. She thinks for a bit, then says, maybe 4 meters. That catches him off guard, since it means her agility's actually solid. He gives her a bow and tells her to test it out. She takes it, saying she's used one before and feels good with it. Our hero tells her she'll cover them from the rear, so he'll take her staff. She happily agrees. Suddenly, she senses something coming toward them. They glance around but see nothing. Our hero tells her to close her eyes and tosses a few balls on the ground. She instantly identifies the number and distance of each one, convincing him she has an ability to detect movement through sound. She then tells Celeb that 4 people are running toward them. Our hero feels uneasy. Any surviving party in this labyrinth is a potential threat. They hurry to a corner and hide, listening to the approaching footsteps, sweating as they wonder what to do next. Finally, our hero musters some courage and steps out in front of them. Pointing his staff, he demands to know why they're following. One bald man says they have no quarrel with him, but he'll need to hand over that spicy elf. The bald leader says their weapons can't break his shield anyway, so fighting is useless. He even tells Caleb to join them, saying they can share the elf together. Urinal is shaking, calling out to Caleb, but he stays quiet for a moment. He's shocked anyone would even think of something that messed up. Then he fires back, telling them to get lost, and Urinal actually gives a small smile. The goons ask if he's joking, but Caleb stands firm with full confidence. The leader gets annoyed and orders his archer to take Caleb out. Right before Urinal releases her arrow, Caleb activates the hourglass. Time freezes, and he notices all the enemies standing in a puddle. Perfect setup. He casts a lightning shock, sending electricity straight into the water. He knows it'll make them drop their weapons, so he follows up with a fireball aimed right into the puddle. With only one action point left, he targets the bald goon and uses it without a second thought, completely draining his action points. Time unfreezes and the goons freeze instead, shocked by the sudden fire and lightning around them. Lightning hits the puddle, and they instantly regret messing with a mage. Their weapons drop as a fireball lands in front of them, filling the whole area with smoke. Baldy panics and tells everyone to run, but before he even moves, another fireball blasts him straight in the face, spreading flames all around. Caleb tells Urinal to take the shot, but she's already ahead of him. Her arrow flies right into the smoke, and they hear Baldy screaming. Caleb realizes she can use her echolocation, so he tells her to finish off the rest too. Caleb gets worried because even if Urinal takes down one minion, he still has to deal with the other, but his magic is on a 5-second cooldown. He tells her to shoot again, and she says there's no need, they're already dead. Caleb notices Urinal only fired 2 arrows, so he wonders how all 3 goons went down. When the smoke clears, he sees it. One arrow took out a single guy, but the second arrow was so perfect it pierced through 2 at once. That freaks him out a little. Yurnal admits she's scared of herself too. Just then, the bald guy coughs up blood and screams in pain. Caleb looks down at him, and Baldy gets mad, saying it's unfair to fight with magic. Caleb fires back that he was the one playing dirty first. Baldy says the world forced him to be like this because people without magic are treated like trash. He takes his last breath, saying he has no regrets. Caleb stays quiet while Yurnal feels bad about taking down those goons. He tells her to forget it and asks how this was even her first fight. She explains, and he realizes they only acted like that because they had to survive. Then he starts looting the bodies and suddenly remembers he just took a life. In the real world, that would mess him up, but here it feels strangely normal, like everything is just a game. He thinks back to the goblins, when he was actually scared of dying, and now he feels like he's really getting stronger. Vernil pulls out a backpack, and they start checking what's inside. The gear suggests the original owner was an adventurer. They even find an ID card with the name Avison, and Yurnal realizes this guy wasn't one of the goons. Caleb remembers the dude from the game. He died in tons of different ways there. Their recent opponents were strong, no doubt, but our hero still handled them with a solid plan. He thinks about whether he would have figured things out if he were in that guy's place, but he knows the answer is no. Without the hourglass, he would already be dead. He doesn't want to rely on luck or powers alone. He tells Yarnell to keep moving. He keeps reminding himself that he needs smart plans with no mistakes. This might be a game world, but it feels real. He has to survive. On the road, the elf starts slowing down, worn out after 12 hours of walking and fighting goblins. Seeing that, our guy calls for a break, and she lights up with relief. They set up a small fire and sit to eat. She offers him some bread and quietly thanks him for saving her twice. He tells her it's nothing, but she looks up and asks what would have happened if he'd taken that disgusting deal. Our hero simply says he doesn't turn back on people he trusts, and that simple answer wells up her eyes. She tells him to sleep, and first, she takes the guard. Without shame, our hero goes straight for the nap. The system dings, leveling our guy to 3, and telling him to spend his stat points. After thinking it over, he dumps everything into wisdom again. Now he can check his allies' stats, and sees the elf also hit level 3. Her agility's insane, plus, she's got sound mapping and blindness immunity, so he pumps all her points into agility too. When he wakes and tells Yurnal to rest, she's already half asleep before hitting the bed. Just before passing out, she asks what he's up to. Our hero picks up his staff and casts a fireball. The blast hits the target perfectly. He smirks, noticing the power has definitely improved. It's not just a dream. Yurnal is half asleep, but can't help admiring our hero's skill right before dozing off. Caleb then decides their next goal is to find the exit gate. Next morning, as they head out, the elf asks how long to reach the gate. He says it's hard to say. 3 paths stretch ahead, and he figures the gate's spot is random, meaning it's all up to luck, which he's never had. After walking a bit farther, they finally spot the exit door, but a party is stationed in front of it. Our hero grips his staff, noting their gear, and realizing they're experienced fighters, so they'll have to be careful. A dwarf calls out, asking if he's from the Academy's slave team. Our guy nods, sensing no threat. The dwarf, Vertanen, turns to a priest named Emma, and asks when the Academy last sent a group in. She thinks and says yesterday morning. Our tiny tank dwarf says it's impressive they made it this far, and guesses the elf dropped magic for a bow. Yurnal tenses, curious how he knew. The dwarf eyes the 2 wands and says the guy must be pretty sure of himself. Our boy lifts one wand, saying he is. Tiny Tank asks if one fires fireballs, and he raises the other wand, like wanna find out? The boss glances at the cat guy, asking what he thinks. His name is Jikal, who says they can't sit here forever. Emma adds that since the kid seems sure of himself, they should just take him. The boss sighs, saying confidence means nothing if he's still a slave tier mage, and if he's like that clown Avison, they're in for a letdown. Still, everyone knows they're out of options. Hearing the name Avison, Caleb wonders if that's who they lost, and asks if they're missing a teammate. The dwarf nods and explains they ran into a black hornet on the first floor, and Avison didn't make it. He says it's a shame since he actually liked the guy, even if his magic was weak. Emma snaps back that Avison isn't dead yet, and reminds him they used a soul preservation spell, so they can still revive him with a resurrection scroll. Tiny Tank sighs and asks where she expects to find one right now. Our hero suspects something. They found the exit but can't beat the boss behind it without a mage. If it were a troll or salamander they'd be fine, but a flying boss would make them eye Yurnal for her bow. But they are wanting a mage and the speed of an elf. Then the conclusion is that the boss monster is a venomic spider. Caleb says it out loud, and the entire group freezes. Emma, Zekel, and even the dwarf are stunned that a slave mage knows about it. Caleb knows the venomic spider fills its lair with poison and webs, moves at high speed, and can slow or blind its enemies. Once trapped, you are as good as dead. Only a fire mage can counter it by burning the ceiling, clearing the webs, and grounding the spider. Caleb calmly says he is the only one who can. Emma immediately votes for him to join, and Zekel agrees. Finally, Tiny Tank tells our hero and Yurnal to join as temporary members, but Caleb declines, shocking everyone. Even Yurnal asks why, saying it's their best chance to reach the gate. Caleb explains that the boss fight opens the exit gate, but the others are hiding that it only lets 4 people through. It weakens, with each crossing turning from green to yellow to red, and collapsing collapsing after 5 minutes. Only one slot is left and they need him, which means Yernal would be left behind. Her eyes welled up just with that thought. Tiny Tank's offer doesn't sound very tempting. He says our hero, he wishes he could take both of them, but they only need one mage. He offers a chance to survive if Caleb lets the elf go. Yernal looks at him with a big question in her eyes. Caleb stays silent, weighing the choice. The offer almost sways him, but if he stays a slave after escaping, they'll just dump him with the rejects again. He'll never find another Yernal. With full confidence, he says he won't abandon her. Everyone's caught off guard, though our guy doesn't get why the elf's surprised he already turned down their gross offer. Instead, he throws out a deal, saying they should just hire him. The boss stares, wondering if he's serious about skipping the exit but still wanting pay. When our boy asks for 10,000 gold, the boss snaps. The elf's shocked too, but he's got it all figured out. Their loot's worth a bit, and that amount could buy both their freedom. The group starts arguing until a couple of them admit it's probably better to just take the deal. Caleb figures they have enough money since they hired a pricey priest. They're worn out and rushing to revive Avison before his preserved body fails, so they'll have to take the deal. Jackal shrugs, saying there aren't any other mages anyway. Our guy says, for trust's sake, he wants Emma to swear by the goddess Nathaniel. Emma's cool with it, saying a covenant can't be broken. The boss tries to bargain, dropping the price to 9,000, but our boy fires back with 95. They go back and forth until the boss gives in. Emma seals it, forming a covenant that promises 9 to 5 for hiring our boy and the elf, with the deal void if either side dies. Both agree, and our guy says it's time to move. They enter the boss room covered in webs. It's dark, and he figures the monster's hiding up top. He spots something off to the side, a neutral item packed with explosives just like most rooms have. Tiny Tank warns them to watch their step since the webs stick hard. Our guy says they should find the boss first, but the boss man tells him to just burn the webs and not play hero. Then a sound hits, cold and sharp, and a web shoots down from above. Tiny Tank blocks it with his axe and yells for our boy to burn the ceiling. The monster keeps firing, and our guy says, since it's showing itself, this is the best shot they'll get. He flips his hourglass, dumps all 4 charges, and fires off one fireball after another. The last one hits dead center, blowing the ceiling apart in a huge blast. The others just stare, stunned. He fired 4 spells with no chant at all. As flames spread, our guy tells everyone to lock in. This is their shot. He knows they can't waste a burst window. He calls for the elf to fire, and she unloads 6 arrows while the boss burns and crashes down. Half just bounce off, so he tells her to hold back. That weak goblin bow won't cut it. The fire climbs, and he tells Emma to throw up a barrier, then signals the fighter to charge once it's ready. The fighter grumbles but knows he's right. When the smoke clears, he leaps in, dodges the spider's strikes, and slices off 2 legs mid-air. The monster screeches, flips on its back, and yearnals up. The boss man yells that it's about to blow, and Emma slams down a constellation shield to protect everyone. Our guy says they clearly knew the boss's pattern and prepped for it, but instead of blocking the poison burst, freezing it is smarter. He fires an ice lance straight at the spider, freezing its egg sac solid. Then he orders Emma to fall back and the boss man to go in. She hesitates, so he shouts again, telling Tiny Tank to hurry and dump his burst. Tiny Tank grumbles, but charges, saying the kid's got an attitude now. He jumps high, brings his axe down with a move called a Great Shattering Cleave, and cracks the boss's skull with a quake that shakes the room. Pulling his weapon free, he says it's over, but our guy reminds them that with bosses, there's always a chance of a second phase. Everyone starts celebrating, saying they finally did it, though it was only the first floor boss. Our buddy still grips his wand, and the elf notices. He says they just said the magic word, they got it. She tilts her head, then looks up like he said, and instantly freezes in horror. The ceiling's packed with spider eggs. The others look too. Emma can't see well, but the Jekyll freaks out, yelling that it's crawling with hundreds. Even the boss man's stunned, saying he's never seen anything like it. Our boy snaps into action, telling the elf to roll him the explosive barrel. She does, but the boss stops it, asking if he's supposed to feed it to the thing. Caleb says, yeah, just aim for the ceiling, and tells Emma to light up the elf's arrow. She nods and gets to work. Caleb tells Yernal to shoot an arrow at the ceiling, and she fires, bursting a cluster of eggs. Tiny Tank spots it, grabs the piss barrel, and throws it high. Our boy catches the cue and activates the hourglass. He fires 4 fireballs that spiral up and hit the barrel, blowing it apart. Tiny Tank's crew murmurs about his silent casting, wondering who this guy actually is. Slave or not, his talent's unreal. A bright flash signals the exit gate opening. Our boy exhales, finally done. Raiding with skilled players helps, but losing control like this still stings. Jikal steps up, asking who he really is. Turns out he's just surprised, and says he's impressed Caleb didn't try to poison or kill them. Our boy laughs and says he never thought of that, but if he had, he could have taken the gate. Jikal says he's glad he didn't, and Tiny Tank admits he's impressed too. That level of skill is crazy for a slave, and they wonder what he used to be. Our hero says he was hooked on the game and curious what his character used to do. He says he was a slave at the Magic Academy. Tiny Tank thinks he's hiding his past for a reason, but won't ask. Yernal walks up saying she didn't expect them to clear it without a scratch, and calls them lucky. Tiny Tank admits he didn't expect much, and only made the contract fast because he thought they'd all die. Yernal's shocked, and our boy says that's why the fee was set that way. Still, Tiny Tank got his money's worth. He agrees, but says it's not over yet. Our guy nods, Jakal asks what he means since they already found the gate. Caleb explains the settlement has to be done in the village. Yernal's confused, but Emma confirms it. The contract says the party must pass through the exit gate for it to count. She points at it, saying it's right there, but Emma says it's not that simple. Deal sworn before the goddess of fairness has to follow every rule, and they still need to cross the gate. Yernal says they can't make it out, and Emma says that means the deal can't finish inside the dungeon. If they don't escape, it's void. Our guy says no one sane would carry 10,000 gold into a dungeon anyway, and the system punishes anyone who can't return. She asks if he knew, and he admits he did since big dungeon deals always settle back in town. Jakal says no wonder Tiny Tank offered 9,500, and that he had a feeling it was coming. Tiny Tank says he's just managing the party funds smartly. Jakal laughs and tells our guy that with his skill it'd be a waste to die, so he better make it back and clean out Tiny Tank's wallet. They decide it's time to leave. Our boy stops them, saying the backpack belonged to one of their old members, Avisan. Everyone freezes, and Tiny Tank rushes over, asking if he's sure. Caleb nods, saying it looked familiar. They wonder where the body is, and he says they never found it. It came from loot another slave team had after a fight. Emma and Jekyll are stunned, and Tiny Tank figures he must want something in return for bringing it up. Our guy says he just wants the backpack, not Avisan's stuff. Tiny Tank laughs, glad he's not asking for money, and says he can have it along with some of their food. Our boy asks if he's really giving all that away since they're not heading straight back. Tiny Tank says getting a resurrection scroll takes time. Emma says she already brought one, and he's surprised. They explain they've already revived Avisan once. Our guy sighs and jokes that Avisan needs a new job. Tiny Tank laughs and says Caleb's 100 times better than him, and the group agrees they should have recruited him first. Yernal quietly thinks it over, and our guy teases, saying better luck next time, though it'll cost more. Tiny Tank grins, saying he talks big but he'll be watching. Then Yernal raises her hand, asking if they can just take Caleb back with them. Everyone's stunned, even Caleb is in pure shock. She says if one member makes it back, it still counts, meaning he can claim the 9,500 gold, become free, join their team, and finally, gear up right. Emma asks what she plans to do since even a mage like Caleb would struggle to survive, and she wouldn't last a day alone. Yernal goes quiet, then says they'll never find the exit again, and will both die if they stay. She tells him not to throw his life away for her. If she'd been alone, she would have died long ago. It's only because of him she made it this far. Our boy's stunned she's willing to go that far. She starts crying, thanking him, saying she'll never forget him, and wants him to live well for her sake too. Tiny Tank tells Yernal that taking members from another party into a dungeon is rude. She asks why he did it before, and he says he thought they were just slaves for the boss fight, not real people, and he is sorry. Now he wants them as a real team and offers our guy a deal to join for a 25% cut and 9,500 gold. Our guy says it is generous, but Yernal takes his hand, saying she will be fine, and does not want him dying for her, so they should part with smiles. Then a status window pops up, calling this an hourglass expansion chance. If he stays with her now, her trust will hit 100%. It shocks him, and as he checks the details, it says that keeping her trust above 80% later will let him give her commands in battle. When his turn ends, she'll act on his command automatically. Our boy mutters, this is crazy. Then it hits him that, just like in the game, special skills evolve through paths, and this one lets him command allies. If he gives an order on his turn, she will follow it after. He cannot push her past her limits, and the commands will be simple, like dropping her shield or shooting a spider. Each move likely costs an action, point the same as his. Tiny Tank never waited for orders before, but she always acted right after his turn. Realizing how useful that timing is, he grins. Tiny Tank asks what he thinks, but our guy says he needs time. He activates the hourglass to calm down and think. He knows this choice could change everything, so he has to be careful. Our boy faces two options: take the upgrade and stay with Yernal, or leave now to join Tiny Tank's pro team and earn his freedom. His turn ends, and he's decided. He grabs Yernal's arm and says thanks, but his answer's the same. He's escaping with her, just like they planned. Yernal starts sobbing, even the Tiny Tank shocked he'd give up such a chance, asking if he's serious. He says he is. Even in a game, he'd make the same call. Raising her is smarter long term, and he's not heartless enough to ditch a crying girl. She asks why he's staying, but he just tells her to hush. He's already stressed, and leaving her would kill his conscience. Jakal rushes over, shouting through tears that our guy's a real man. Emma laughs, saying the academy really picked a good one, and Tiny Tank just says he wants him even more now. Emma says that she's sorry to ruin the moment, but wonders how they're going to defeat the next boss alone. He asks if they could take the spider's corpse. Tiny Tank says that's not right. A touching moment is one thing, but this is something else. Caleb says this guy is autistic because he has no situational awareness. He says that he'll just buy it, and they should deduct the 1,300 from the 9,500 reward. They agree, but charge him an extra 200. Caleb agrees, and Tiny Tank asks Yernal's name. He calls her Pretty Nil, making her angry as she corrects him. He laughs, saying her sincerity was cooler than Caleb's fireball, and gives them both a token of support. He gives Yernal 4 health potions, and she thanks him. Tiny Tank says he'll buy Caleb a drink if they make it out, and Caleb tells him it better be 2. Emma adds that they can find her at the Temple of Nathaniel for their reward. She blesses them for safety, and Caleb notes the blessing gives +1 to all stats for 12 hours, with immunity to curses and decay. They decide it's time to head back to town, giving one last dramatic stare before the gate, like heroes in a cheap movie. Jakal yells for them to remember his name, though he's pretty sure no one will. Emma wishes them luck, and Tiny Tank digs through his bag, muttering that it's farewell for now, and pulls out an E-ranked mana stone. It glows and counts as one person through the gate. He rolls it in and one slot lights up. He tells them to find him at the Adventurers Guild if they survive, saying he knows they'll come and he'll be waiting. The gate closes and Yernal drops to her knees, wondering why our boy stayed, and how they'll clear the exit room now. He says he knew it was a long shot, but tells her not to worry. He's played this game too long and already planned it out. He tells her not to cry since they can handle it, and should start by ripping the spider's fangs from its corpse. She nods through tears, and her trust hits 100%, letting him command her in battle. She says she's willing to do anything, even be his shield, but thinks it'd be faster if they worked together. He tells her to trust him, saying there's a reason for everything and she should just focus on the fangs. She answers with a quick yes, and our boy says he wants to help, but the success rate depends on dexterity, and hers is higher, so she's got a better chance. He needs to check the skill expansion system and plan ahead. It repeats what he knows, but adds that tough or unnat Yernal commands might fail. He thinks that makes sense, and decides to test what kind of orders she can handle soon. She pulls out the fang, proud of it, and he says, good, they'll make poison arrows on the way. He smiles, thinking she was crying a minute ago, and they could still die anytime. Yet she looks genuinely happy. Our boy tells her to mix the poison with a goblin arrow to make a poison arrow, and hands it over. She says even if he makes new arrows, they might not help much in battle. He explains that her weak damage came from bad gear. Bows are hard to replace, but good arrows can make up for it. If she combines the right materials, even a lousy bow can hit hard. The success rate depends on dexterity, so he's not expecting much, but she nails it on her first try and asks if that's right. He's stunned and asks how, and she says she just poked carefully until it worked. He blinks, thinking one wrong poke and she'd be a poison pancake, yet somehow it worked. He now holds a poison arrow and mutters that maybe he should hire her as his personal hazard tester. Our boy tells her to save the poison arrows until he says so. She agrees, and they head down the hall. He decides to test his new hourglass feature and activates his turn. With 4 actions left, he tells her to hand him the water bottle. It doesn't cost any points, which surprises him. It makes sense, since it's not a direct action. When his turn ends, she opens the bag and gives him the water, saying it's hot and she thought he might be thirsty. He smiles, curious how this will work in battle. Then, goblins appear ahead, and he sees a chance to test it. He activates the hourglass, casts fireball at the first goblin, and tells her to shoot the leg of the one in the back. As soon as his turn ends, she fires. One goblin burns, and the other takes an arrow to the leg, screaming. Our boy walks up, finishes it with a fireball, and asks why she aimed for the leg instead of the head. She says the leg was easier, and he realizes that once he gives a command during his turn, she follows it completely, even against her will. Our boy figures this new ability could help with things only a girl could do. Remembering the note about tricky commands, he decides to test it. He activates the hourglass and tells her to do a TikTok dance, then ends his turn. She just stares, confused, and nothing happens. He tries again, saying any dance will do, and she suddenly busts out a silly move, panicking as she realizes it. He blinks, thinking maybe he just unlocked a weird new party trick. She apologizes, and he tells her to just keep going. As they go deeper, he grabs a drink and says he needs to know something. He activates the hourglass and asks her to tell him everything she knows. She says she heard people on the slave ship call him a murderer. He spits out his water, spraying it everywhere. She asks if he's okay, and he wipes his mouth, saying he's fine, but maybe people should mind their own business. She admits she used to think he was scary, but is glad he's not, and believes he had his reasons. Our boy nods, though inside he knows it's bad he killed a Fox Tribe teammate. He explains Fox Tribes are smart, magical, and annoyingly charming. She says the woman must have done something awful since the Caleb she knows wouldn't kill without cause. She remembers him saying the Magic Academy puts one experienced adventurer in each 4-person slave team. Now she gets it, and is relieved he's the one with her. He says he's still trying to figure out who he was before ending up in this body, basically a midlife crisis in dungeon form. As they turn the corner, she suddenly gasps. They have found another exit room. He says he expected one eventually, but reaching it this fast feels too lucky and makes him uneasy. Then she points ahead and tells him to look. Someone is lying on the floor. She says it's Avison, and that soul preservation magic makes him look asleep. He's pale and clean, so he must be rich. Our boy agrees only nobles can afford that magic. She says it's her first time seeing it, and he wonders if they could return the body for a reward. Then he sees one of Avison's legs is missing. He asks if she hears anything eating nearby. She listens and says yes, an awful sound but no wings. He frowns. If the Black Hornet killed him, it should still be around. He says they should check, but she says they don't have to go far. As she peeks around the corner, she points to a Black Hornet larva feeding on the body. Our boy stares. The parent is gone. If adventurers had killed it, there'd be battle signs, and leaving its young behind makes no sense unless it ran from something stronger, something that shouldn't exist on the first floor. Our boy suddenly realizes something terrible and asks if any adventurer has gone missing on the first floor. She says she's heard of one, a rogue named Baiko Take, who vanished after beating a Black Hornet alone when his team fell. She asks why he wants to know. Our hero is sure now. A rogue is the worst matchup for a mage. He asks if she has ever heard of a possessed adventurer. She hasn't. He says it is rare but happened once in the game. The exit boss on the first floor. It's when an adventurer's soul is taken by the labyrinth master, turning them into a mad servant who fights with their old skills but is far stronger. No wonder they reach the exit so fast. The master's toying with them. He mutters a curse, realizing how bad this is. Yahello senses his fear and starts crying, asking if they're doomed. He steadies himself and says they'll handle it. When she asks if he's sure, he grins and says, of course he's here. What could go wrong? The scene cuts to a tavern where the bartender's cracking up at our tiny tank. He says no chantless spellcaster exists, since even one is a once-in-a-century flex. The bartender adds he's lucky to be alive and pours him a drink. When Tiny Tank points out he didn't order anything, the bartender grins and tells him to drink up before it disappears, still roasting him. The bartender asks about Jackal. Tiny Tank says the kid's new but dependable. The bartender jokes that every rookie Tiny Tank brings ends up broken and calls Jackal a future. Bake Otayak. Tiny Tank laughs, saying Bake was a legend on the first floor, maybe even strong enough for the second, but his recruit isn't at that level yet. Then he sighs, saying it's still hard to believe someone like Bak got taken down by the labyrinth master. The bartender agrees, it's a real shame. Tiny Tank takes a sip, grins, and says the worst part is whoever faces that legend as a boss, may the gods weaken them first. Just then, the door bursts open, and a woman rushes in, crying and yelling at Tiny Tank, asking if it's true her son Avison is dead. He apologizes and says yes, Avison got killed by a black hornet. She breaks down, saying she trusted him to protect her son. Her other son steps in, saying they should stay calm and listen, since it's not anyone's fault. His voice hardens as he vows not to let it end like this, and says he's already planning a rescue. Tiny Tank says the magic preserving Avison's soul lasts a week, so revival is still possible. Scroll will be ready in 3 days, and they'll leave then. Avison's brother, Clarence, says that's too close and asks if they can go now. Dwarfy says he'll use a tracking spell to find his brother, adding that a genius mage helped them make it. When Clarence asks who the mage is, the bartender says it's a slave who casts spells faster than people blink. Tiny Tank sighs, saying it's real. Clarence frowns, thinking they're messing with him. His mother hopes that Mage found Avison's body, but Clarence looks ready to explode. Tiny Tank says maybe, since the team had only 2 people. Clarence groans, saying he's sick of hearing about that duo. His mother snaps that now isn't the time to pout, and promises a fat reward to anyone who brings her son back. A lizard nearby overhears and slides his chair back, asking how much she'll pay. He claims his crew works the 3rd floor, and doesn't fumble like Tiny Tank. Clarence shuts him down with a death stare, telling him to stay quiet unless spoken to, and the lizard runs away, like his browser history just went public. Clarence then tells his mother that throwing money around will only attract the wrong kind of people. The mother says if she doesn't offer a reward, no one will find Avison. Clarence says he'll go himself with the dwarfy. Tiny Tank is chill with that, saying if a 5th floor mage is joining, that's even better. Clarence says it's his brother, so he should be the one to bring him back, and he's curious about that genius mage too. Our hero tells Yahello they should call it off. She's confused, but he explains they've waited too long for the dwarf's party. The caterpillar will die in 2 days, and once the scent fades, other monsters will swarm in. It's the offspring of a 1st floor boss, so they can't stay idle. He knows it's valuable but insists they move. Yahello suggests waiting for the next exit room, but he refuses, saying if Bike Otek is really here, a 1st floor party won't last. Their only chance is for the 2 of them to take him down and escape. When she asks if they can win, he smirks, saying there is a way, though it won't be easy. She agrees to do whatever it takes, and he grins, saying good, because their plan will be rough. Later, after some rest, there's a huge explosion in the hallway. Goblins panic as one gets shocked, and another takes an arrow to the head. Our guy says their hellish training starts now. They'll need to take down 100 goblins. She's horrified, but he's already charging ahead, and soon they're mowing through goblins in a fast-paced montage. He explains that level 5 is the 1st floor limit, and they're just over level 4 after beating the spider. With 2 days of non-stop training, they can reach it, and hitting that mark unlocks a new special ability. He plans to collect only the best magic stones, and tells her they're going after the goblin shaman next. She's clearly exhausted, but he pushes on, saying they need its scrolls. That night, they rested near the caterpillar. He praises her, while she's flat on the floor, barely breathing. He says they're finally ready. She notices the caterpillar breathing weakly, almost like her, and he says it'll probably die tomorrow since it hasn't eaten in days. Then she hesitates and quietly wonders if they should feed it Avison. Caleb says things have gotten intense, but not that insane. Damaging a soul-preserved body's a serious crime, but at least they've gathered everything they need in time. She asks what's next and sees him filling an orc barrel with water. He says it's part of the plan and almost ready, so they should rest. She offers to take first watch, but he's already lying down, saying he needs to sleep first to recover and plan ahead. She glares, giving off killing intent, and he laughs it off, promising to take an extra half hour on his shift later. That softens her, and she tells him to rest well. He mutters that she's got a scary side and asks her to wake him in 2.5 hours. As he enters rest mode, both their levels rise from 4 to 5, unlocking a new special ability for him. Caleb says they're heading into the exit room next. She hesitates, asking if he's really planning to face the boss looking like that. He tells her not to worry, what she sees isn't everything, and they'll still win. She says that's not what she meant. She just can't believe he's actually wearing that. He says of course, since the black hornet egg is tough and makes great armor, though the poor caterpillar's still whining. She mutters that it reeks. The doors open, and they step into the boss room. A man sits on a throne before rising to face them. Caleb calls him out to fight. Baek laughs darkly, vanishes, and suddenly appears behind them, attacking in true backshot style. The hourglass activates, and our guy realizes the rogue used a scale-leaping ambush. He had already predicted that move and aimed behind him, firing a lightning blast right in the guy's face. After the hit lands, he shouts for Yernal to soak him with water to boost the shock. All his action points are spent, ending his turn and putting his skills on cooldown. Time unfreezes, and Baek gets zapped, dropping to his knees. Yernal grabs the orc barrel and dumps the water all over him. As he's soaked, our guy says perfect and fires off ice pick. The boss dodges in a zigzag, pulling back, and Caleb recognizes the move as shadow leap. Since the guy's burned his mobility skills, our boy tells Yernal to lift the barrel again while he preps his telekinesis wand. He holds it up and tells her to shoot it. She fires, bursting it midair and splashing water everywhere. Caleb launches another ice pick, hitting the puddles, turning the whole floor slick and slowing the boss down. Baek notices, but before he can react, something flies in and smashes the hornet eggshell armor. Yernal screams our hero's name, but he says he's fine thanks to the armor. He's shocked the boss used a ranged magic throw, though it's weaker from that far. The dagger spins back to Baek, who catches it and fades from sight. Caleb mutters that he's gone invisible and tells Yernil to track his position. She nods and gets ready. Yernil focuses and hears movement above. She fires an arrow at the sound, nearly hitting the boss before he dodges midair, leaving himself open. He grabs something from his back, a grenade. Our guy notices and grins, saying this is what he's been waiting for. He looks at the black hornet caterpillar and uses ice pick, instantly killing it and triggering his level up. His new ability, Slaughterer's Momentum, kicks in. Pulling out his lightning wand, the hourglass activates again. The skill now gives him 2 temporary action points for 60 seconds after a kill. He explains that he dragged that larva here for this one move. His target is the grenade. The boss holds tiny and far, but still hittable. As time freezes, he lines up his aim, hoping he gets it right, then fires lightning shock twice, spending both points. Time resumes, the lightning bolts hit, and the grenade explodes midair, lighting up the sky above them. Caleb cheers, saying he actually pulled it off. Makes sense, since he was a special class marksman in the army. He asks where the boss is, and Yernal points him out. Our guy fires an ice pick, hitting the target square in the chest and freezing him in place. He grunts in pain, and Caleb says the freeze landed perfectly, so he can't dodge. He tells Yernal to finish it. She draws a poison arrow and fires, striking the boss in the chest. Caleb says level doesn't matter now, the poison hits dead on, and the gas will kill him slowly. 20 damage a second for 20 seconds. Even without seeing a health bar, it should be over soon. He mutters that he hopes the guy doesn't fight it. Then a bright light bursts from the poison cloud, dispersing it completely. Caleb groans, saying he shouldn't have counted on luck, and tells Yernal to move to plan B. He really didn't want to use it. A possessed adventurer is the worst kind of enemy, since they can still use their special abilities from when they were alive, and the boss now looks furious. The good thing is that our boy already prepared a plan B if the poison failed. Back then, Kim planned with Yernal to shoot one poison arrow first and wait to see what happens. She's like, shouldn't we use both to have a shot? Kim says their enemy once soloed a black hornet, and that's what's bugging him. If the guy can handle poison, that explains a lot. He's fast and skilled, but there's no way he fought that thing without getting stung. So if he got poisoned and lived, maybe he's got some way to heal it. Yernal goes, so you think Baek can cure poison? Kim says, not exactly. He's a rogue, not a mage. If it wasn't a potion or scroll, it's probably some built-in ability. The real question is if he can cleanse it right away. Yernal says if he can, they're toast. Kim grins and says, nah, that's when we go to plan B. They had to because Baek has already activated adrenaline surge to restore his HP. His eyes glow, and as the dude uses another speed ability, he is literally eating the distance against our boy, who is already sweating because the hourglass still has 3 seconds left on cooldown. Yernil asks if she should loose the poisoned arrow, but he stops her because the enemy will easily dodge the arrow at the current speed. He finds no option but to begin combat, and uses his first lightning shock at Baek, but Baek dodges it, and then, with blinding speed, reaches our hero and snaps his hand. Our hero yells in pain, but Baek picks up a dagger and is just about to finish our boy. Caleb finally signals the goofy-ass Yernil to hit Baek, but Baek looks at her and drags our boy far away from Yernil's aim. Our hero's plan B ends up getting him stabbed by Baek's dagger. She can only helplessly watch him. Our hero feels hellish pain and brings out potions to heal, but bastard Baek steals one from his pocket, pissing our hero further. After he drinks the potion bottle empty, he attacks again, but luckily the hourglass finally activates. Our hero takes his time to drink his next potion, while Baek stands frozen inches away from stabbing again. Somehow, his plan B gets him back on track, and now he's throwing potions like crazy. He even uses a scroll as the freeze time ticks. As he uses the scroll, he tells Yernil to shoot the bastard Baek. Before sipping another potion, he farewells Baek, and the hourglass also resets. Baek's dagger hits the protective protective armor of our hero. Bake looks shocked, and our guy restrains him tightly, telling him his confusion is legit, but this was simply the magic armor scroll effect. Then he yells at Urinal to shoot. An arrow shoots toward Bake bullseye. It hits right in the back, and poison starts to expel out. Our hero still clings to him even in poison, and keeps drinking potions while the air around them grows dense with poison. Finally, Bake coughs blood in pain, and the hero still drinks potions in order to survive. Beck still slightly pushes our hero away, and pulls up the dagger. He tries to strike our boy, and just before penetration, the dagger falls. Bake falls unconscious, and the hero is also about to log out because of the deadly poisoned smoke. Urinal leaps toward him, begging him not to die already, and feeds him more potions. But even after emptying multiple bottles, she finds no hope and weeps. Suddenly, a gate opens, and it's Caleb, who musters up some strength to stand. The goofy-ass Urinal, mid-cry, starts to explain about her shot, but our hero knows he used a special skill of curved volley to auto-aim on Bake. Then, he asks Urinal if there are still 2 open slots on their gate. She replies they have. He tells her to bring Bake and Avison with them. Back at the tavern, a dwarf asks Clearance why he enters. Clearance says his brother's life is on the line, so wants to enter the labyrinth to help him. The dwarf tells him that his scroll is just ready, but he can't enter the labyrinth before 5 a.m. Clearance figures the soul spell's running out. More scrolls won't help if they don't save his brother soon. His thoughts are interrupted by Emma, who tells them to reach the labyrinth office as soon as possible. When she tells them the first floor exit gate is opened, the new leaves them shocked. Clearance even demands reassurance. She reassures them to move their asses fast. At the labyrinth, Scarlet stands in front of the gate. She is disappointed why no one is coming out. She hears a voice and turns out it's Clearance. They both are here for his brother, Avison. Just then, the gate's energy changes, and Scarlet gets near it hoping Avison will come out fine. A freaking rotten face appears out of the gate. She yells the hells of her soul as they face each other. The zombie face dude falls on the ground, taking everyone by surprise. Clearance immediately realizes it's Avison. The gate turns green before it throws out another rotten dude. Emma figures it's Bake from his red hair. Scarlet is vexed why only dead bodies are coming out. Clearance can't believe that Caleb's duo really defeated Mr. Bake. He remembers the time when people told him about a mage, and finally someone stepped out of the gate. It's our goofy Urinal who tells them to wait if you want the hero's entrance. They wished him warmly, but Scarlet angrily asks her if she is from the Academy's slave team. When Urinal says yes, Scarlet can't understand how slave duos with crappy weapons defeat Mr. Bake, especially when they had no time to even team up. The gate goes red, and a hand appears out. It's our hero, walking out farming aura, hyping other minions' excitement. Our hero slightly says he has 8,000 gold, and starts losing balance. Urinal holds him, but he zones out. Back at Nathaniel Temple, our guy awakes and asks what happened. Emma says he collapsed after overdosing the healing potions with the antidotes. Caleb asks where his money is. She points that it's on the table, and my guy goes straight to count every penny. He asks why it's less, to which Emma says Urinal pays 150 coins for the medical fees. Our hero gets angry at Urinal. However, he asks about Avison and Bake. She says Avison is in a revival chamber, and hopefully will get resurrected, but Bake's body was sent to the morgue. He asks if she can revive Bake too. She says no soul preservation spell was used on him, so revival's impossible. But our guy knows that the spell normally keeps a soul tied to its body for a week, meaning the body must be found fast to bring it back. Our boy figures there's a loophole though. If the labyrinth master stored his soul somewhere safe, like in a jar, maybe it can be pulled from the soul sanctuary and revived. The others probably called it impossible because they don't even know that place exists. Our guy only found it once while playing the game. He gets ready to head out after wishing Emma well. Our hero returns to the academy. Urinal greets him warmly. Our boy's still got a chain on his neck since he's a slave. He tells her they can buy their freedom with this, and she lights up. But once the numbers are done, it turns out she can't be freed after all, and her excitement crashes. Our guy asks what went wrong. This guy explains that freedom costs 3,000 gold, and Urinal's share is only 2, so she's stuck. Our boy looks confused, asking how the whole calculation thing even works. The guy says it's easier to show than explain and pulls out the scales of fairness, which judge how much each person contributed in the adventure. Based on the Tiny Tank team's testimony, the girl's share comes out pretty low. Our boy frowns, saying he's never seen this kind of magic in the game, and that her score doesn't make sense. She made the weapon that took down Bike Otayek herself. He asks if this has to do with Tiny Tank's contract. The guy explains that their goal was to get the poison arrow and clear the next exit, and if she couldn't handle processing the poison fang, they wouldn't have made the deal in the first place. Hearing that, she breaks down crying. The guy pauses, then adjusts the scales, saying it's all been recorded, and the full calculation can start. Finally, he casts lie prevention magic, so no one can say anything but the truth. The guy explains that this manual is for judging a slave's team contribution, and warns their tongues might feel numb under the spell. He tells them to drop their bags on the table and truthfully share what they did up until leaving the labyrinth. Our boy steps up first to give his testimony, saying their goal was to escape slavery together. After adding up everything they earned from the magic stones and Bake Otaic stuff, the total comes to 14,600 gold, around what a normal 4-person team makes on the first floor. But her share is only 20%, not even close to to the 3,000 she needs. Our boy looks surprised, saying he thought he worked hard and doesn't get why she's getting so little. She tears up, clearly disappointed. The guy coldly points out that slaves in the labyrinth usually earn around 500 gold if they even survive, and she's lucky to be alive. He says she wasn't skilled, she just followed our boy's plan and fired 2 poison arrows, something anyone could have done. Still, if she's unhappy, she can object now. She quietly says she accepts. Our boy can't help but feel that the guy didn't need to say it so harshly, but the guy cuts him off, warning him not to show her any kindness. The guy explains that sending slaves who were criminals into the labyrinth is part of their punishment. He then asks our boy if he plans to use his gold to buy freedom. Our boy agrees, pays 3,000 gold, and the guy removes his slave collar with magic, congratulating him as a free man. Soon after, 2 men come in to take Yahello to the slave quarters, mentioning she's skilled with a bow and could fetch a good price at the Adventurers Guild. Our boy says he'll go find her later, but the assistant stops him, asking if he's interested in enrolling at the university. They can't afford to lose a mage with no chanting and high-speed casting abilities, and promise full support if he joins. Our boy notices the shift in attitude and realizes they now see him as valuable. Since many mages likely died in the labyrinth eruption, it makes sense they'd want to keep him. He asks what kind of benefits he'd get, and the assistant praises his exceptional talent. Just then, someone enters the room asking if this is the rumored mage. The assistant introduces him as Professor Maldini. He says he came to see the genius who casts without chanting and at incredible speed, along with the instructor from the exit gate. Maldini says he wanted to see him for himself. Our boy introduces himself, and he says he likes the determination in his eyes. He skips the formalities and asks one thing, what he believes is the mission of a mage. He answers that it's to create new magic or defeat labyrinth monsters. Maldini shakes his head and says he's wrong. He tells him there's a mission far more important than creating new spells or fighting monsters, eliminating otherworld possessors. Our boy's heart sinks as he explains that countless people have died from labyrinth eruptions, and after years of research, they discovered the eruptions happen because of those possessors crossing into this world. If they stay out for over 2 weeks, the labyrinth erupts to wipe them out. No one knows why, but it keeps the peace. Hearing that, our boy mutters that even as a free man, peace isn't meant for him. Maldini goes over his record, noting he used to be an adventurer from Wyndham and became a slave after killing a teammate claiming she was a possessor. That shocks him, and he smiles, saying he'll fit right in. He then tells him to join the possessor identification club he leads, joking that he's not one himself, right? Our boy stays silent, realizing he'd be in serious trouble if he answered carelessly, since the lie prevention magic is still active. Our boy goes quiet for a moment, making the professor curious about his sudden silence. Truth is, he's scared the lie detection spell from earlier might expose him. The professor gives a sly smile, saying it's odd for him to hesitate over such a simple question, which only makes our guy more tense as he struggles to come up with a safe answer. Just then, Clarence walks in to greet the professor, saying it might be too soon to recruit our boy since he's still shaken from the labyrinth. The professor welcomes him, remarking that a hardworking man always gets a good harvest, hinting that even Professor Isilov must have taken an interest in our guy. Clarence steps in again, saying that with his quick, clean casting style, he's better suited for labyrinth work than for hunting otherworld possessors. The professor doesn't like the interruption, but Clarence smiles, and tells our boy to take his time and think about joining the Labyrinth Exploration Club. After the talk, our boy walks out, relieved that the lie detection spell finally fades. He tells himself that if anyone tries using it on him again, he'll probably end up fighting them. The thought of such a spell annoys him. It's too convenient, too invasive. Sure, it can help catch liars or criminals, but he hates the idea that it can strip someone of their secrets. While he's calming down, Clarence catches up to him and introduces himself as a senior mage, and the brother of the guy our boy saves. He thanks him sincerely, saying it helps him find his brother's body easily. Our boy says it isn't a total loss, since he's free now anyway. Clarence apologizes for staying quiet earlier, saying it feels wrong to talk while the spell is active. That surprises our boy, who says most people find using that kind of magic rude. Clarence agrees and explains it's actually only allowed during slave evaluations. That's when our boy realizes the spell has strict limits and gets even more irritated thinking about how carelessly the professor uses it. Clarence apologizes for the professor's behavior, saying not everyone at the university shares the same hatred for isekai possessors. He breaks down how things work. There are 3 main factions with their own beliefs. The first is Professor Maldini's group, all about hunting down possessors. The second is Professor Isilov's, which supports them and handles labyrinth exploration. And the third is the Professor Dahlstream faction, which actually reveres them. He explains that Dahlstream studies ancient texts about the connection between possessors and the master of the labyrinth, believing that beings can control human souls and drive people insane. Clarence goes on, saying, Dahlstream thinks there's only one mage who can resist that madness, a possessor known as the turn-based system sorcerer. That name stuns our boy. Clarence says old records describe this sorcerer as someone who can stop time itself and bend reality at will, though most of it sounds more like a vague legend than a clear truth. Clarence mentions that the Professor Dahlstream faction is the smallest, with only a few mages keeping it running. When their talk ends, he tells our boy that his professor is waiting and leads him inside. Professor Islov welcomes him warmly and explains that his club focuses on studying strange strange phenomena inside the labyrinth, secret rooms, monsters, and the ecosystem, but their current priority is investigating possessed adventurers, not isekai possessors. He then shares his theory about Bake Otayek, saying the man isn't truly dead and that his soul might still be trapped somewhere in the labyrinth. Our boy knows more about souls than the professor realizes, so he stays quiet, while Isilov asks him to help find Bake Otayek's soul. The request actually sounds simple to him, since he's done something similar before, but he hesitates, knowing he wants to avoid Meldini's faction and that Dahlstream's group would be a hassle. After thinking it through, he decides joining Isilov's club is his best option. He then asks if he can form his own team for the club's missions. The professor is surprised but smiles, saying most students prefer joining experienced groups, though there's no rule against it. Our boy agrees and officially joins the club. Our hero is shown to his new dorm room at the magic school, and the assistant tells him to rest after everything he's been through. The place is far more comfortable than anything he's ever had, and he can't help but be impressed. When he asks if he can bring future teammates over, the assistant says it isn't technically allowed, but hints he can bend the rules if he's careful, which makes our boy quietly tag him as a sly one. After the assistant leaves, he takes a long shower, finally feeling at ease. As he relaxes, his thoughts wander over everything that happens that day: the escape from the labyrinth, the fight with Bake Otek, earning his freedom, and getting into the university. It all feels unreal, like too much for a single day. He starts planning for tomorrow, deciding to hit the all-night library for research, and then visit the admissions office to bring Yernal back. Still, he pushes the thoughts aside for now, reminding himself he has a long road ahead and needs some real rest first. The next day, our boy drags himself through class, tired from spending the whole night studying in the library. Still, he figures this kind of exhaustion is better than dealing with that lie detection spell again. Professor Dahlstream shows up with his usual mysterious smile, introducing himself as the one teaching first years a new spell called Memorize. He explains that the spell forms a contract with Wizu, the god of wisdom, granting each mage a special memory book used to store spells. After the demo, the students try it themselves. When our boy activates the spell, his own memory book appears, showing he can store 3 spells since he is level 5. The professor tells everyone that their limit depends on their level. The higher it is, the more spells they can memorize. The professor tells the class they can create new spells by combining different slots, and says his assistant, Scarlet, will handle the lesson. She looks caught off guard, but he quickly claims his back hurts, leaving her no choice. Scarlet expects an easy first day, but realizes the professor is still too drained to teach. Tired herself, she leads everyone to the magic training grounds. There, she explains that the number of slots varies for each mage, and once someone has at least 2, they can combine spells. Merging 2 level 1 spells creates a stronger level 2 spell through a process called bookbinding, which lets them craft advanced magic without using extra slots. She adds that 3 spells can be fused, though it's risky and rarely works. To show them, she demonstrates by merging 3 spells into one powerful attack, called Triple Attribute Strike, a move that unleashes the combined force of all 3 elements at once. The students are amazed by the power of the spell, realizing how strong advanced magic can be. Scarlet seems proud of the result, and tells them that with enough practice, they can achieve something similar. She hands out a list of basic spells, and explains they can buy them from the magic bookstore, or visit her at the tower for advice. While checking everyone's selections, she notices our boy already has 3 magic slots, and is stunned by his choices: Dust Cloud, Heatwave, and Moisten. She asks if he knows the last one is just a utility spell for adding humidity, clearly confused about his logic. Our boy calmly asks if his choices are against the rules, and she quickly says no, just unusual. Right then, Professor Dahlstream enters, curious about the noise. Scarlet shows him the list, saying she can't understand why our boy picks such odd spells. The professor looks it over, and simply tells her to let him be, saying that experimentation is what the university is all about. He gives our boy a confident smile, wishing him luck and saying he looks forward to seeing what comes out of his strange mix. That evening, our boy returns to his dorm, relaxed, and starts working with his memory book. He registers his 3 spells, then begins combining them through bookbinding. Merging Dust Cloud and Heatwave gives him a new level 2 spell, Dust Explosion, which packs way more power than a regular fireball. Excited, he tries again and gets another level 2 spell, Heatwave, which causes damage and even sunstroke. Finally, he combines all 3, Dust Cloud, Heatwave, and Moisten, and creates Thundercloud, a strong lightning-based spell. Looking at the results, our boy is thrilled. He plans to test them soon and buy a lightning staff to use them better. After finishing his work, he reminds himself there is still one important thing left to do. Meanwhile, Yernal sits locked up at the Adventurers Guild, accused of drug trafficking and waiting to be sold. Hearing the guards talk about her breaks her spirit, and she fears being sent back into the labyrinth again. As she is led to another room, she mutters sadly about missing our boy, thinking she will never see him again. But when she opens the door, she freezes. He is standing right there, waiting. Our boy looks calm, and says he could never abandon a companion he risked his life with. The sight of him leaves Yernal speechless and deeply moved. Our boy reaches out to Yernal with a confident smile, promising to make her truly free and asking her to come with him. As they walk outside, she worries about still being in debt. He tells her not to stress. He has a few ways to clear clear it, starting with collecting the reward for bringing back Avison's body. He is surprised to hear only 100 gold has been paid. Clarence explains the rest is on hold since the university might seize it before Yurnal's freedom is official. She will get most of it soon, but has to stay in her assigned quarters for now. Our boy then tells her there is another way to clear her debt. She can join him in his next trip into the labyrinth. If she does, she will pay off everything and finally be free. He shows her a bow he has brought as a gift, saying it is her choice whether to stay or walk her own path. After a moment of hesitation, she asks if he really plans to keep adventuring. He says yes, even if he isn't much help, he will still try his best. Moved, she blurts out that she wants to stay with him and keep being his companion. Our boy smiles when Yurnal says she wants to stay with him and tells her they will keep going together. He also mentions he has already found another teammate, which surprises her. She gets excited and wants to meet the new member right away, though he warns her not to expect too much. That night, Yurnal stays at our hero's place. She is all joyful after wearing new clothes and equipment. She walks to her room, and while opening the door, she thinks tonight she will take a warm shower and looks genuinely excited. But the moment she sees the freaky face of Bake, she freezes in shock and screams. Our boy quickly calms her down and explains he's used a summoning scroll from Professor Isilov to bring Bake back. The guy looks exhausted, but greets her weakly. Yurnal is still shaken and thinks about leaving, but Bake firmly refuses to let her. Later, our boy reads through Isilov's old research, learning about a huge incident 12 years ago in the labyrinth city of Sohen, an explosion that releases around 3,000 monsters, including abyssal ones. The target is a possessed man named Henry, who fights until the end, leaving behind a mysterious message before he dies. The message is written in a code only soul-bearers can read, warning them to stay away from the magic university. Our boy finds it strange that Henry leaves such a message and starts wondering if the warning actually comes from the university itself. What makes it even weirder is that the place hit hardest by the labyrinth explosion is the university. Maybe they fight the monsters head-on, or maybe they are attacked right after Henry's incident in the slums. Either way, our guy knows he has to dig deeper into what really happens, especially with Professor Meldini's involvement. Just then, Yurnal comes into his room mid-sleep, asking if she can sleep in his room as the necromancer Bake messed up hair. She even asks if she can shit Bake in the head, but our boy refuses, saying if she wants to stay, she has to deal with it. Then he shows her a pile of scrolls he bought from the black market earlier that morning. She looks confused, but he smiles and says he has a few experiments in mind, and asks if she'll help him test them. Meanwhile, Professors Meldini and Isilov are busy with a new project, arguing over who gets the cleaner beaker like children in a lab. Meldini mentions that the man who writes the warning to the soul bearers is killed soon after, and that the student mentioned Caleb is someone Isilov knows. Meldini suspects something off about our boy's powers, recalling how he perfectly freezes the poison sacs of the labyrinth spider before they explode. He doubts that kind of precision comes from talent alone, and mutters that even his top students can't pour tea without spilling. He just can't understand how two lowly slaves managed to kill Bake Otaic and survive the labyrinth when half the academy can't even survive Monday lectures. Meldini finds it too strange to ignore and says all signs point to our boy being possessed, so they must investigate. Isilov disagrees, saying they can't accuse someone based on weak guesses. Meldini admits he doesn't want to rush things, but reminds him the university is low on mages and can't risk another disaster like 12 years ago. He vows to keep an eye on our guy, claiming he's just being careful, not paranoid, though even he sounds unsure. Later, Isilov sits alone, worried. He doesn't want trouble with Meldini yet knows they need someone like our boy for the deep labyrinth missions. Our boy looks for new team members and is surprised by how many apply since few dare to face the labyrinth. While he sets up the interviews, Yurnal and Bake wander through the crowd. It's Bake's first time outside since his revival, and when he starts sucking Yurnal's hair out of curiosity, she freezes while our boy struggles not to laugh. When everyone gathers, he explains their next goal, finding Beck's soul's resting place to fully revive him. Anyone wanting to join has to prove they can fight on the front lines. He places a huge barrel before them and says whoever can lift it will move to the combat test. It's a simple way to judge strength fast. But as soon as he says that, some people start backing out, realizing this isn't going to be easy. Yurnal says she isn't good at fighting, but our boy tells her she'll learn soon. A few adventurers mock him, saying he's only cleared the labyrinth once. Before the tension grows, a voice cuts through the noise. A tall lizard man from the Temple of Nathaniel steps forward, telling the complainers to move aside. The crowd goes quiet. No one expects someone like him to show up for a first-floor expedition. Our guy instantly feels suspicious, wondering if the temple sends him to keep an eye on their group, since they never trust spirit summoners like Bake. The lizardman warrior burst into tears seeing Bake in such a pitiful state. Another adventurer says the goal is resurrection and introduces himself as Hijikata, a swordsman from the third floor. Seeing Bake revived gives him hope to bring back his own lost friend, so he eagerly joins our boy's team. Our boy thinks Hiji could be a good asset, but knows he'll leave once Bake is revived, so he won't stay in the team long. Before he can speak, a big man bursts in shouting for a chance to join. The bald monk looks desperate, insisting he has to be part of the group no matter what. When Caleb stares at him in confusion, the monk yells that he is even ready for the interview to be the part of the team because Bake is his true companion.
And hey, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe subscribe to Zucker Manhwa for more epic recaps coming your way.